and she's not scared of the monsters in Monsters, Inc. Boo.
What the hell are y'all talking about?
Do you hang around
we're live.
Like
And we're live. Good morning.
Inc.
Happy Sunday. You've got four crazy, zany people here ready to talk to you on the Speaker's Corner. You've got a whole new set of individuals this week than you had last week, because last week we all weren't here. But
we were on vacation.
We were living that life that we can then speak about this week here on the Sunday podcast that we love to call the Speaker's Corner. Let me introduce the cast of characters. The cast of characters today from random different places this week from where we have historically been. Let's start out with Frank Heathington, currently in lovely Maggie Valley, North Carolina. Say hello, Frank.
Jeff, I think that you were binge watching old episodes of today's special. That's why we could not have this podcast last week.
You think I was? Don't just think it. Know it. Today's special.
Wait, is that on
loud
Netflix?
And clear. Today's special. No, I don't think so.
Special.
Don't tease me like that.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, so teased.
No, don't apologize. That's Frank's fault.
So teased, so doge. And that was Michelle Lynch, who is bringing it to us from GNV from the Gainesville, Florida.
Hi, everybody. We trust
Thom.
that you guys last week and any other time that we are not able to post anything are looking at our archive.
That's right. We have backdated episodes that we sit here and run for your pleasure on the YouTubes, and you are welcome to watch those at leisure. So let's go on to the next one. In Queens, New York, it's Thom.
Hi, I was actually in a park in San Francisco last Saturday, so that's why I had to miss the show.
Wow.
I'll definitely have to talk about that out after air.
I was in Vegas last week, I think.
Who are you and where are you?
That's right. My name is Jeff Wheeler, and I am now bringing it to you live from downtown, the most down of downtowns of Atlanta, Georgia. Right here on Forsyth Street, home of bricks and old things.
Wow. Bricks and old things. What an intro.
I know. We have got a stellar, packed, entire listing of stack of stuff that we are ready to plow through. And should we go ahead and get started on the plowing?
Tear it up.
Segue to anything?
Wow.
I am wide open to receive, Jeff. Let's
You're
do
wide
this.
open to receive the plowing through of the content. Ladies and gentlemen, let's start with one that was near and dear to my heart. There was a gentleman that recently passed that I have fond memories of in many, many ways. Mr. Robin Williams. Mr. Robin Williams apparently passed, I guess it was last week. Do anyone know the exact date?
I think it was last
I
Monday.
found out about it Monday.
I think it was the 11th.
Right. So, and the circumstances of his passing is the part that makes it kind of a bit of tragedy. He seems to have taken his own life, and that is something that pains everyone else that has been touched by that individual, I find. And it pains me to see such a talented individual gone. I remember him all the way back from the Mork and Mindy days, and when social media catches somebody who does good things and is able to bring up old memories of that individual, I think it's a very powerful tool to be able to say all of these things about somebody's life. And I saw all these old pictures and videos of him back in the Mork and Mindy days and his old stand-up routines, and I said, this guy really had some sort of presence that is not common, and it feels good to be able to bring back up. And so I'd just like to bring up the fact for me that the fact that internet does not forget is really a valuable concept in the memory of an individual who has left good footprints. So that's the venue that I kind of wanted to speak about.
I think it's kind of cool. I mean, not his passing is kind of cool, but I'm just looking at his catalog of movies that he did, and I kind of want to speak to one of the movies. And yes, it's a Disney movie, and it would be Aladdin.
Oh, yes.
But the thing that people don't really know about that, he wasn't the first cast for the genie. It was actually Patrick Stewart.
Patrick Stewart. That would have been a very different genie.
Exactly. So if you think about that whole generation of the early 90s going forward, the millennials that grew up, that kind of understood Robin Williams and kind of were able to see him in a new light. So he was spanned multiple generations.
Well, I remember him mostly from Hook.
Well,
That's kind of the way I see him as an actor, right? Is the fact that he could put whimsy into that character in Hook.
And my favorite, this is a close second, would have been Dead Poets Society.
Oh, amazing.
But my favorite movie with him at all time is The Birdcage.
You know, but there's just so many gems. So many gems.
There's a scene that I can't, if it was the day I found out he passed. I think it was actually the day I found out, that day the news came out, and someone had posted up the clip, and it's just, you go and you watch it. I remember getting teary-eyed because it's such a powerful scene, but from Good Will Hunting, and that scene near the end of the film, Matt Damon, where he was saying, it's not your fault. Matt Damon's like, I know, and he's like, it's not your fault. And he just keeps repeating it, and it actually reminded me, I was listening to an NPR article, and they're talking about like the Meisner technique, and there's like this whole thing, like in the Meisner technique of acting, of like the repetition, where you're constantly repeating something, and it's just because the act of speaking and listening and speaking and listening and listening and listening, and that's what that kind of was. It just was an amazing scene, because also I think people tended to forget how serious an actor he could be.
Yep.
How dramatic an actor could be. Yeah, people say, well, what about Dead Poets Society? Well, no, because he was a little bit of a caricature in that film, even though it does have some serious gravitas to it. But you see Good Will Hunting, or I would even suggest Seize the Day, which is one of my favorite books, turned into a film with Robin Williams and Ben Stiller's dad, Jerry Stiller. Great movie. Great serious role. World of Garp. What's not from? I know Michelle had your hand up a little bit earlier. Do you want to chime in with your favorite Williams or a Williams comment?
Yeah. I love Robin Williams. I watched Dead Poets Society right as soon as it happened, and I listened to Aladdin and everything else, and then I started doing a little bit of more like reading into things and finding out some information. He was actually really mad in Aladdin that they used his name in the wrong ways. They used his voice and his name in the wrong ways. He only got base level pay for that job.
Oh,
and
really?
So, yeah. So they used him to boost it because he's Robin Williams, and so that's why that particular, you'll find that Aladdin and a lot of things with Robin Williams, like any sort of voice singing, it's hard to find on things like Spotify and other. They have a tight clinch on that. And then the other thing that I was going to mention was that I think in this case it was well worth it because of the conversation we're having. But I wonder if it is still necessary for journalists and newspapers to not cover suicides.
Are they not supposed to cover suicide?
No. It glorifies, promotes, gives the impression that if you commit a suicide that you can still, like, it's an ethical thing not to write about suicides.
Huh. I don't think that's a good rule.
It's a hard rule to follow. I think if it's a more national figure.
Right.
Correct.
Yes, a celebrity is definitely a harder thing, a harder way to follow. If it was a child, a 17-year-old kid in your local neighborhood that has committed suicide, then the newspaper will typically not do a story on it.
That's kind of a dilemma for me, because really, don't you want to see that and see the pain and anguish that it causes in the people around that person?
But if you're 17 and you see some other 17-year-old that has gotten their name in the newspaper paper and you feel like you have done nothing in life that is worthwhile, that may be an achievable goal for you then.
Yeah.
That they didn't want to have.
I mean, I feel you on the fact that it's a dilemma, and that's sad but true.
Right.
The one flip side of not covering it, even with like the 17-year-old, is then it's not the conversation we have about mental health issues.
Agreed.
Or depression. Maybe that doesn't happen. Maybe people don't talk about that, of depression being an illness,
Right.
being one that basically you
Kills.
live with. It basically.
But depression kills just as much as anything else.
It kills, exactly.
But it kills in a different way. It's not like your heart stops working. It's that you go and do things that in your life or the people around you.
Right.
Yeah.
And isn't it that most people that are in fits of depression do these dumb things that take and harm others around them as well as harming themselves? That happens on a regular.
I don't know if I'd be as judgmental to say dumb things, but they do things that are harmful to
Risk
their
behaviors.
to a safe and comfortable life.
All
Yeah,
right, so should we continue with the obituaries?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to. There was another one who passed, and another. It's not. We don't always just talk about celebrities. Obviously, here this isn't a celebrity show, but Lauren Bacall passed away as well during this period we've been apart, and I have obviously silver screen goddess. And who I actually saw once. Once I saw south of Central Park, and it was funny. She walked past me, and she still looked great. I mean, she obviously was in her early 80s at this point, and she looked like Lauren Bacall. And I remember kind of stopping and like turning to like look back at her, and then looking at this guy in a suit who was doing the exact same thing. We didn't even say anything. We just kind of like eyeballed each other and were like, "You saw that, right?" I'm like, "Yeah." So Lauren Bacall, if you haven't watched, I got a film recommendation. We just watched it this week. It's on Netflix. How to Marry a Millionaire, with Lauren Bacall, Marilyn Monroe, and Betty Grable playing three women who are in New York City scheming to marry millionaires.
Wow.
First off, the joke I made online was, we came for Bacall, but we stayed for Monroe. I'd forgotten I tend to forget how great of an actress she really was. And
Marilyn Monroe was a great actress?
She's exceptional. Because in this one, it's a little bit of a screwball comedy, and so she's playing someone she's blind as a bat, but because she's supposed to be the sex pot, she doesn't wear her glasses. So she's constantly tripping, slamming into walls, and she does it full on. Like, she's selling it. I'm like, you are brilliant physical comedy.
Wow.
So I'd recommend it. William Powell's also in it, if you're a Thin Man fan. So go honor Bacall, but also honor Williams. Watch some good movies, and raise a toast in their honor.
Lauren Bacall, born Betty Joan Persky in the Bronx, New York.
She was married to Humphrey Bogart.
Yes. And I think she never remarried? No, she did remarry. Jason Robards, and then divorced in '69. But has been unmarried since.
Jason Robards.
Yeah, do you know who that is?
Yeah, as an actor.
Oh, okay.
Oh, you know who Jason Robards is if you saw his face.
Ah, okay.
I believe his last role was he was the father in what's the movie where the frogs rain down? Not Prince of Egypt. Magnolia.
Oh, okay.
I think he was.
She was in Magnolia?
No, her ex-husband was in Magnolia.
And we are all over the place.
We are always
always.
all over the place.
Gotcha.
That's
So,
how we do it.
And I wanted to say
You're right. Earl Partridge in Magnolia, he was. And he was also the rear admiral in Crimson Tide.
Yeah, I don't.
Or in Philadelphia, he was Charles Wheeler in Philadelphia. Apparently, he's very used in film.
Was used.
Gotcha.
Meanwhile, the Dugans just had another child.
Who are the Dugans?
The Mormon family that has over 39 children living.
Wow.
59 and counting.
Wait, how many kids do they have? 39, 59?
I don't know. I was just being humorous.
I'll find out. Hold on.
That is insanity.
I was trying to give you a segue. I don't know how that's
You know
gonna
what's
work.
also insane?
What?
Local police with military-grade tactical weapons and urban assault vehicles. Something which is being talked about now, but if you remember and have been a fan of the show, we were talking about many months ago.
That is correct.
The events, one part of the discourse that's come out of the events in Ferguson, Missouri, for those who are not in the States who may be watching, the event I'm referring to was the gunning down of an unarmed black youth by a police officer in Missouri, which has led to confrontations between protesting locals and the police.
And this is basically a suburb of St. Louis. Suburb of St. Louis.
Exactly. So there's been two conversations that have been happening. One conversation has been about race, the police, some people even going so far as to say the war on the black male in the United States, because this is the fourth unarmed black person killed. I think that week. There was one
in Ferguson.
No, nationally. Just in the same week was Staten Island. Here in New York, we had the man who died after being put in a chokehold by police, which was an illegal police procedure, and yet they still did it.
The chokehold is illegal?
Chokehold is an illegal because it's too dangerous to put people in chokeholds.
Gotcha.
They are trained not to do it, and yet it's amazing the things you train police not to do, and yet they still do.
And they do it. And then there's a whole thing going on in Ferguson also with people being able to film and whether or not they're allowed to film the police in what they do. And I think, wasn't there a release of the ability to film the police? And there was a couple of courts who basically said, yeah, the police have the right to film you just as much as you have the right to film the police. I believe that came out in the court hearing surrounding this whole Ferguson thing.
As long as we can still film them.
What's that?
As long as I think the most important thing is that we can film them.
Correct.
There was an issue where journalists were arrested and not given the ability to do their job. But I didn't hear anything about what you were
I thought it was private individuals that were upheld to be able to film the police while actions were going on. Which, hey, I totally believe in that, and I totally think that, hey, we're equipped with a device that allows people to have a rational decision on the events of a particular day in our pockets, so the court of law would be able to accurately depict what is going on versus hearsay evidence by a police officer or an individual. And why not be able to utilize that?
And this might be a state issue also. It may not be a federal overarching. Because even in the state of Florida, you have to get permission to record a voice by somebody, but not in other states. There's a lot of...
In public, I thought you didn't even have to do that.
Oh, no, in public, that's correct. You don't have to do that. But if you're like calling somebody or you're going to record a conversation with somebody, then yes, you have to get their permission.
That actually might be a national. That it at least affects lots of states where you have to.
It does,
you can't
affect a lot of states,
you can't
but it's not
record
national.
Voice, because there is no. You are not aware of. I guess so. You walk into a public store, they have to. Maybe it's also state law. If there's cameras, you have to put up signage saying you are being filmed.
Right. And I believe in the need to put up something that makes it obvious that you're filming. But
Right. I mean, as a citizen sitting out there with a camera in your hand, you're pretty obvious that you're filming.
Right.
And the police, I think, they are entitled to film as well. They want to CYA as much as any other business person.
That's right.
Yeah, dashboard cams.
Right.
I think it's also they've studies have shown when they started putting, I can't remember what state started doing it, putting cameras literally on the officer so they could film them, when they were in operations, and they saw
Illinois, I think.
They saw like public perceptions of the police go up, and like it was a win-win situation, because suddenly it's not just I'm protected, but also everything I do is being filmed, so I need
cross my T's and
smile. You're on candid camera. Do your job. Don't step out of line.
Yep.
And then the public saw that and it was like, oh, you're not being a dick. You're being You're being
trying to do the right thing
a peace
because
officer.
Right. Well, and that's awesome.
This ties in the word I just used, peace officer. This ties in with Ferguson or actually nationally, this militarization of the police, where basically local police are turning into quasi-local armies,
right?
With the equipment they wear, and you give someone an urban assault vehicle, you give them riot gear, you give them an assault rifle, semi-automatic assault rifle. Basically, you are implicitly telling them you're at war.
That's right.
And who are they at war with?
The public.
The public.
The general.
And that is the era that's been for the last 10, 15 years kind of put in place. And it's negative reinforcement of how you view the population you police. Whereas you're supposed to be protecting them and serving them, not
combating them. Not
exactly.
Combating. And I agree with that concept. I mean, there's just so many instances where the police are combating that they're basically at odds with the public. They set up a speed trap to be at odds with those horrible people who are doing this. They put up a DUI stop point to be at odds with those horrible people that are going out and doing this. They're then extending what we would think of those actions as semi-reasonable to, okay, there's an unrest, we're going to put on this full SWAT riot gear and go at them as if they are enemy combatants. And it's just not the society that I would like to live in. It's what we used to put on the news talking about how horrible Russia and all these other places were to their people.
I got a business opportunity for you, Jeff.
Go.
All right, so how much do you think these cameras these cops are wearing on them cost?
$1,500 a pop.
Between $400 to $600 a pop.
Oh, that's nothing.
Yeah.
The issue is going to be the data storage management costs.
Yep. And then you have to keep a certain level of data storage. Yeah, that's a good.
Who's watching it?
Doesn't matter. All you have to do is just time date stamp it and allow it to be searchable later.
Searchable later. Okay.
Yep. You just geotag it and you time date stamp it and you put the officer that's involved and you're done. Right? But then what happens when we start to run that same video that the cops have been recording and probably putting in a pretty decent database? We start running that through facial recognition. Right? And then you go, we've got Enrique Jones that has been on police camera 642 times. Yes, this is his first arrest, but he has 650 minutes of police footage of him. Is
Unfair.
that admissible?
Unfair. Because it cannot be gained by a human being, and you cannot fight against. I can't live in a world against computers like that. Like it's collecting information that an individual cannot collect on their own, and no, that's unfair.
It's not pertinent to the case anyway. It's not. I mean, it's like bringing. Yeah, it's not. It would be. It would easily be if they try to introduce it. Lawyers would run circles around it because you're introducing evidence that is not pertinent to the case.
But it would certainly sway a jury.
Yeah, which would probably a good lawyer,
right?
A paid one, not a public defendant, would easily either get that thrown out, or if it was introduced, would probably lead to a mistrial. But right. You're right. Someone, a public defendant, yeah, there would be a lot of people, the poorer folks.
Oh.
Would probably.
I'd have to get a public defender.
I think public defenders need Google Glass in the courtroom.
Okay, because you like giving away Google Glass? Why can't they just have like a $20 video camera that they attach to their head, put a GoPro on them for $150?
Actually, hold on. With Frank's idea, if they look over at the jury and they have a Google Glass and it's like zeroed in this person, and then it like lists all of the sites that they frequent, and if they really like do you have a whole bunch of people that are into home stuff, and then you start talking about the home life of the defendant and so on and so forth.
Oh, so you're talking like it's a video game like Watch Dogs, where you kind of like circle in on a square and it's like, oh, this guy likes DIY projects, or this guy likes David Rose Misty on
So that's the next
That-
adventure video game is courtroom adventure video games.
There's already one. There's already one. There's a Japanese game called.
You're shitting me.
No, I think what's it called? Attorney Phoenix.
Yeah.
There
Phoenix
is
Wright. Phoenix Wright, attorney. Yeah, I'm gonna look it up.
You're a lawyer, and you basically have to it's like an anime style, game. And
Do you build up more paralegals so that you are able to make a stronger case and bury them in paperwork?
I was right. Phoenix Wright. Yeah, good job,
Thank you.
Tom. Good teamwork.
Digital high five. I do want to jump back to Watch Dogs, which I hadn't heard of this game until this morning. I was seeing this interesting infographic on that was showing the top by each state, the top illegally downloaded video game and TV series. So you'll have to find this map because it's very fascinating. So you look for the TV series.
Please post it in the show notes.
I'll put in the show notes. So obviously, video games. I saw Watch Dog a few times. And that's where this is triggering me. The TV shows were interesting because most of it was pretty standard. Like you saw a lot of Game of Thrones were #1 in states. Big Bang Theory.
Yeah.
Awkward was big in several states down south. New York's #1 show was the only state to have that show as their #1, and it was a big what? I just want you to guess. Just guess. What was the #1 illegally downloaded show apparently in the state of New York?
So is this a current? No, this is a current show that's on network television, or what medium is this on?
It's a TV show.
You can't ask that kind of question.
No,
you have to guess.
The show, yeah.
I'm gonna guess it's. No, I actually don't know.
It's not 60 Minutes.
What's his
No, it is
face's
not.
new show? The comedy guy, the English dude.
Oh, the Ricky Gervais show?
No, the other English
Ellen.
dude.
Ellen.
What?
Oh,
what
wait,
was
is this
it?
a new show? Is that what I got? It was Beauty and the Beast.
What?
What?
Shut the front door.
Which
not
I
Beauty
don't
and
know
the Beast
if it was
circa
the
1988. You're talking about new Beauty and the Beast.
that's
Like
what I
Angela
didn't realize
Lansbury?
I didn't realize there was a 2012. No. I thought it was the Ron Perlman and Linda Hamilton TV series.
God.
But I
Even
guess
better.
there is a 2012 TV series. So maybe I'll shut my cake hole because that's the #1. So it's the CW Beauty and the Beast. New York was the only state that had that as the #1.
What am I missing out on here, New York?
I don't know. At least I feel better. At least I feel better now because I was convinced, all the hipsters in Brooklyn were downloading 1980s Ron Perlman, Linda Hamilton.
I completely forgot Linda
Beast.
Hamilton was even in that. But
Oh, yeah.
see, Tom, see how the conversation goes full circle with the militarization of police, with Linda Hamilton, Skynet, and the growth of Terminator. See, everybody, this is why you listen to this podcast. As the wheels turn, as the hamster turns around the wheel, we will
Right.
get full circle.
And
Hey,
speaking of the
Speaking of
militarization, speaking of the militarization and the best ways to combat it, I was at DEF CON this past week, right? So DEF CON is a convention out in Las Vegas where all the hackers get together and discuss what cool things they've been able to do in the last year, right? And most of these guys are tinfoil hat kind of individuals.
Oh, are
The whole
they?
government wants to mess with you,
Me.
and they
Pick me.
try
Pick me.
extra hard
Pick
to...
me.
Well, you don't do very much on your privacy, Frank. You don't
Oh.
do a very good job of burying your identity online or in
That's
real
true.
life.
That's true.
So if
That's
you're going to
true.
be a true tin hat individual, I can share with you some tools and tricks to make yourself quite undiscoverable.
And see, this is why I like these kinds of segments on this podcast, because I learn about Bitcoin. So tell me what you're going to learn. I'm going to learn today. How do I hack myself to disappear? Go.
So there are a couple of ways that you can do a couple of these things. Let's see. I'm just going to really share. I really wanted to share a couple of things that were very scary that I was able to find out at DEF CON this year. One thing that was uber scary is how available for pillaging the USB standard is on computers, right? So computers pretty much across the board all use USB, Universal Serial Bus. And every USB device is required to have a controller chip on the side of the device, right? So there is one in the computer, and then there is one controller chip that's on the device. That controller chip on the device is not necessarily hard-coded, so it can be programmed. And there was a talk this year at DEF CON describing how you can just rechange the firmware on that chip on the end of the device, whether it be a printer or a USB flash drive or whatever, to first identify itself as something different and then move itself to what it originally was created and made to be, right? So say you put in a flash drive in your computer and it has this malicious software in it. It can first show up as a trusted device, such as a keyboard, would then execute keyboard commands on pretty much every computer. That you're allowed to run keyboard commands directly from the keyboard as if you have no mouse or any of these kinds of things. So therefore it can enter things, hey, go to this website, download this program, start running it, right? And the computer, because it's a keyboard, inherently trusts that that is an individual. Right? Once it does all of that stuff, it goes, okay, now that you've executed that command, stop being a keyboard and start being a USB flash drive. And so to the user, it just shows up a bunch of stuff that pops up in the side, showing that it's being recognized. And really, while it's being recognized is when it's running its malicious part, and then goes back to being what you expect it to be 30, 60 seconds later.
Isn't this what I mean? This was kind of discussed when the NSA.
It's part of the NSA playbook.
They've been intercepting, Amazon shipments and kind of just like doing a little tweak on routers or what have you, because it's like.
That's right. And if you're able to do that, if you're able to intercept that hardware, then you're able to do that. And they said, and it's not like you can just reprogram over the firmware to do it, because if you try and reprogram the thing, you have to talk to that same controller to do it, right? So, okay, well, the little chip has got firmware version 300, and I want to put firmware version 400 that I know is good, right? So I send to the little chip, I want to send to you firmware version 400 that I know is good. The chip goes, oh yeah, that's cool, you can send it to me, takes the firmware version 400, reads out the firmware revision number, changes it inside its code, and throws the rest of it away.
Fascinating.
And you're done, right? You're not able to get back out of the thing. So that was one of the things that was kind of, oh god, that's kind of scary. I spent a few minutes in the embedded systems, or the SCADA hacking village, right? So they've got this room where they had set up all these control systems for water, sewer, and power industry. And they were showing how easy it was with off-the-shelf hardware to be able to hack and just completely take down all of these systems that run our power grid, run our water grid, and all these types of things.
Let me ask you, if it's that easy, why isn't it happening weekly, daily? Don't tell me that everyone's just so ethical.
No, there is a slight problem with physical access.
Okay.
And there is a bigger problem with the people who are mischievous, right? Who are just doing it to, kind of throw an egg on your door, if you will, are not doing it because they realize how vicious it would be to our way of life.
But, no,
right?
I think it's... But your first point is more important, I think. That kind of wetware, for lack of a better term, firewall, of like needing physical access to make it happen.
Right. And so the people who are generally very far away are protected from the physical access. So you don't get guys from Estonia trying to hack in to a power grid system because they don't have close enough physical access, right? And Billy Bob around the corner from this water treatment facility doesn't go in there because he realizes it would screw up his ability to take a bath.
I really don't like how you're signaling out everybody that's Billy Bob. Can you do something like Justin or Rick? That'd be great. Thanks.
Or Sue, or Melanie.
Yeah, and I'd also like to mention...
Well, why does it have to be a male? Can't it be like Lisa or Stephanie?
So this is my second week.
Why's it got to be a white name, too?
Yeah. Second time going to DEF CON, and I will say that the numbers are increasing of females. And everybody there seems to notice it and is appreciative of it. They say 5-10 years ago you could not find anybody who wasn't a girlfriend or a booth babe that was female and at DEF CON 10 years ago. Now there's a solid 10%. And a solid 10% is significant in the curve of increasing.
There was still no women that were in the coding thing that was sponsored by, God, I can't remember who it was sponsored by now. But they did create their own separate section for women as well, so people are recognizing that women are coders and women are out there doing these things as well in competitions.
Yeah, but I don't want them to have a separate. I don't want them to have a separate category. Oh, well, you win for the women. That sucks.
No, correct. This is the in order to, it's like a marketing thing. They're marketing for women before the big event.
That you can appeal to women to make sure that they feel comfortable going out there. But I just don't want it to be, oh, like you do on a marathon. Okay, well, you win for the women and he wins for the men. In coding, they should be able to. Everyone that's human and has red blood should be able to code at the same level. Women just would approach problems typically differently than men. Not always, but typically they have a different conceptual way of going at the problems.
Is there an aversion to people like the term googliness? Is there a term, like, do you feel like people out there hate Google? Like, do they have, like, I mean, what's the whole, I don't know what this kind of culture, this subculture is like of these gamers or these hackers or whatever. I don't even know what the term is even called.
So most of them aren't gamers, they just hack. But they don't they don't dislike Google. They have just a healthy distrust for anybody who's able to maintain their information. So I wouldn't say that they hate Google, and most of them, believe it or not, run Macs.
Is it a healthy distrust? Is it healthy?
It's healthy to be wary. I think it's healthy to recognize that somebody else carries your information and therefore you need to pay attention to what information you give to them.
Fair enough, but Frank was asking about like a general atmosphere, like what does it feel like? And I've heard tinfoil, so I'm wondering, like, it automatically makes me think unhealthy. Is it? So were you around a lot of unhealthy?
There were a lot of socially awkward individuals.
Okay.
That didn't understand the way that they were brilliant in their own right, but they were
so
not.
A lot of Asperger syndrome people there.
Well, I don't know about Asperger, but there were a lot of people that don't fit into the normal concept of regular folk.
I had to, like, step away mentally because you were saying about the whole Google thing, and, like, you know, they what's it you said, they respect but are wary or something, like you said.
Yeah, they have a
healthy
distrust.
Distrust. And I was trying to remember who it was, and it was, obviously, my father was in naval intelligence, so it's their expression. Their mantra, naval intelligence, U.S. naval intelligence, was, "In God we trust, all others we monitor."
Wow.
Damn.
Wow.
So maybe that should, like, maybe the hackers should, like,
take on that concept.
In code we trust, all others.
I think this podcast needs a house sigil like that. That'd be kind of cool.
We need a house sigil. You're in charge.
Get on that.
I want to kind of segue. We weren't even going to talk about this, but maybe we could talk 5 minutes. And I just found this on the internet. It's quite kind of a segue off of Jeff's.
We love it when you do this. Go ahead, Frank.
So a lot of people in the world, especially that are online gamers, they're looking for work. And so now what they're trying to do, and this, albeit as a small full of people looking for of different positions and jobs, but they're putting their accomplishments in our beloved World of Warcraft onto their resumes. And what they're
That's been happening for years.
Yeah, and there is some kind of validation to it. People are saying they've organized as many as 500 people on large-scale raid events. This would help me apply my skill set for networking to the kind of job I'm trying to post for.
Yeah,
so
leadership skills if you lead a guild. Yeah.
And I'm kind of reading down and this is coming from the Wall Street Journal. at the very end of the article, it says there's a misconception that when someone goes into the game, they act like somebody else. But the research shows that the game world tends to magnify what's already there.
I agree with that.
That's like that classic adage. Oh, when people drink, they become someone else. It's like, no, they just become a.
I do kind of agree with that.
A more zealous version of themselves.
Yeah.
So anyway, I thought that was interesting.
That is interesting.
Yeah, that's interesting, and I think it's very viable. I think that I would love to have somebody put on their resume, avid gamer with accomplishments of X, Y, and Z.
It creates a conversation.
Especially if you have a job that has something to do with computers and has something to do with that type of individual who is likely a gamer.
Or it's going to be a job that requires extensive team collaboration and long-term working together, because obviously if you're playing some of these if you're playing an FPS and you're like, I've got a kill-death ratio of blah, 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 it's like, good for you.
Yeah.
If this is the job that requires hand-eye spatial awareness,
yeah,
great. But if this is, you're going to be joining my team as a player, and maybe not.
Right.
You're going to frag me whenever it becomes beneficial.
So you don't put your gaming stuff on your resume?
Wait,
I honestly have not tweaked my resume in. I'm be embarrassed to say how long it's been. So
it's a good activity.
If I put game stuff on there, it would be like I totally beat Super Mario Brothers 2 with 85 lives left.
Why not have a link on your resume that you send electronically with your gamer stats?
To Let's Play videos I've done.
Right.
A link to my
so you put on
Armory.
Twitch videos of what you...
Twitch. Oh, man. Did you hear about the Twitch? This is...
Oh, no.
Oh, no. This is insane.
So Twitch being the...
gamer network where they broadcast people playing video games.
And
it's
not the dancer from So You Think You Can Dance.
It's like YouTube for gamers wanting to show off them playing their own games.
Thank you.
So I'm going to describe to you a Twitch video that was put up, and then I want you to tell me how many, make a guess how many people have viewed it. So apparently, and mind you, this was an engineering student. Her project was, you're familiar with the video game Pokemon?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh.
She created a Pokemon game that was being played by fish.
Oh,
What she had done was create in a fish tank quadrants that related to buttons on the game, and so as the fish passed into areas, that dictated what button was pressed, what was played. So it was basically a fish, or fish, plural maybe, playing Pokemon.
That's
How many people do you think were watched this video?
Oh, it's got to be over 1 million.
Yeah, I'm going with 700 million.
At last I heard it was definitely over 1 million.
Wow.
At one point, there was as many as 25,000 people at one time watching it.
Wow.
So wait a second. This is a live stream of
I would watch it.
deciding
Fish playing Pokemon.
Just to see what would it actually
The funniest thing is the people who are like trolling hard on the fish.
Yeah.
Going, you fucking stupid fish! Push X, push X. What are you doing? Who plays a Squirtle against a fire beast?
Who plays a squirrel against a fire beast? Who does that?
That's where we've come. I honestly believe our society is in some really weird decline.
No,
not a decline. It's a paradigm shift into some
Yes.
kind of weird new existence where, I don't know, eventually at some point it's going to be like, people are going to be like talking to each other and they're going to have to go, wait, I can't tell. Are you being snarky or not?
Yeah,
I'm not sure anymore. Oh God, my irony is broken.
My irony is.
I broke my irony.
as we are shifting into a new paradigm. Paradigm.
I've got a paradigm shift. Go ahead.
I usually do my segment of the random country of the week now, but this is going to be kind of a play on the random country of the week, based upon a website called visionofhumanity.org. And their mission statement, and I will first of all say I don't know how they get this data, I don't know how they aggregate it, I don't know how they analyze it, that they work off of something called the Global Peace Index. And I am going to ask the panel today to list, I will list you the top 5 worst peaceful countries in the world.
Mali.
I think we can probably all name what they are here on this panel. But I would like the panel to actually identify the top 5 most peaceful most peaceful countries according to this index. So
the 5 most peaceful?
5 most peaceful. So
and you're going to give us, to start out, you're going to give us the most warring, the most non-peaceful. Go.
Exactly. So at the very, very bottom of it is South Sudan.
Okay.
Yeah.
Iraq.
Okay.
Somalia, Sudan, and then the Central African Republic.
Okay.
North Korea comes at 153 on the list, just in case you were wondering.
Okay.
Where does the United States come?
The U.S. is actually 151st.
Interesting.
Right near Korea.
Because of because we're so involved in so many external conflicts. Yeah. I'm gonna
Switzerland.
Switzerland is number 5. Correct, Jeff Wheeler.
Iceland.
OMG, Tom. Do you
Nicely
really
done.
name the number 1 country? Yes.
Yeah.
Nicely done.
Nailed it.
Nicely.
Can you give me 4, 3, and 2 though?
Are we just going to go through all the Scandinavian countries? Is it?
Yeah,
is
that's what I would
Is it
do.
Sweden?
No.
Norway?
Finland.
No.
All right.
It's
So
Denmark.
Bhutan.
Denmark, yes.
Belgium?
Denmark is number 2.
Denmark.
Bhutan?
Number 2.
No. Got 2 more. Think,
Are these
okay, you're thinking the wrong area. Think South Pacific.
South Pacific?
New Zealand?
Not New Zealand is number 4.
Oh,
New
good
Zealand's
one.
number
Fiji?
4.
And you guys won't get number 3. It's Austria.
Austria.
Iceland,
really?
Denmark, Austria, New Zealand, Switzerland.
New Zealand.
Switzerland.
Wow.
Sweden is actually 11th.
Switzerland.
And I can't
Why are
find-
people afraid to invade Switzerland?
They're not.
They're not
It's-
afraid. There's just no reason to.
There's no reason. And also because of the amount of gold and money that's based there, it could, wreak international economic havoc.
Well,
So-
I thought it was because everybody got a gun and was told how to use it.
Well,
No.
not only that, but you know that their Air Force is split up and there is no Air Force bases, yet they have individual airplanes in between their expressways.
Dude, this place is the most peaceful place. This is great. I'm going to Switzerland.
But they're extremely xenophobic,
Wow.
anti-Muslim. They're very, they have
very
ordinances that
isolationist.
basically ban minarets from being constructed in. So it's not some idyllic. See, this is where
I'll pass through
you go when it's it's not.
But Switzerland is number 5. Iceland's number 1, man.
All right, speaking
Again.
of ice, what about ice buckets?
Ice
jeez.
buckets. Oh yeah. Speaking of ice, it has nothing to do with peace or anything else. But we've been seeing across on our. Have you guys been seeing on your social media people dropping ice buckets and then challenging other people?
The
I haven't seen a
ALS
single
challenge. Ugh.
For posterity, we are seeing these people doing.
Wait, are you being snarky, Tom? I've lost my irony. I need to get my irony fixed.
So people are doing this to bring. Well, the challenge is that they're supposed to put the ice bucket on their head in response to the challenge, or if they do not want to, or they would donate to the ALS Foundation, which is arterial lateral sclerosis.
Yeah,
Lou
same
Gehrig's
thing.
disease. Lou Gehrig.
Lou Gehrig's disease, correct.
So what
and
Stephen
it
Hawking
is,
has?
Yeah, it's what Stephen Hawking has.
No. What is Stephen Hawking?
I don't know.
Yeah, he has
I don't know.
ALS.
Okay, he has ALS.
Google it, but
so-
I think I'm right.
Typical ALS sufferers, they will pass within a year or two. So they get diagnosed, and then you it quickly goes down. And you're probably right, Jeff. The thing that bothers me is that some of these people, I think they're just throwing ice buckets on themselves, and
Yes.
and not really either
It's a
understanding.
cool social media thing to do.
If you're going
Right.
to do it, donate.
I can make a video,
Don't go
and
for the motion.
I don't even
Right.
want you to donate. Don't donate. At least the awareness. I believe in raising awareness. I believe that is a thing. But your awareness needs to be raised to a point that's going to affect your life. So my challenge to you is that, and I wrote this on my Facebook, to go out and write an advance directive, write a living will, take what we're learning here about this disease and make your voice heard right now while you can before bad things like this happen, and it becomes a burden on your family to try and figure out, well, what would you want to do? Because my grandfather passed from ALS, and I remember there was one point he looked at his hands and he's like, it's the damnedest thing. He could not make them do anything whatsoever. He just was trapped inside of his body.
Wow.
He couldn't vocalize what he wanted to do. So take this opportunity. Don't just, ice bucket, whatever, but also do something for yourself.
I like that. That's great.
That's a good takeaway.
It's a great thing to do, and it's something I should definitely be doing myself because I don't have a living will. I don't have a will. I'm pretty awful. I need to do that. I'm a grown man.
Even if you just write it down on a piece of paper and take a picture of it and post it on social media.
Yeah. Project Grace is one place that you can get a living will. A lot of places in the United States, you don't actually have to get it signed by any lawyer or anything. It's just something that you give to your doctor. You can share with your doctor and whoever you're going to have your healthcare surrogate be, and they will
execute
keep a copy and execute should you ever need it.
Yeah. Cool.
You'll have to send me the link to Project Grace since there's a lot of different organizations with that name.
Correct. Project Grace is a non-denominational. We actually know someone, you and I, Tom, that whose brother-in-law heads another one that is for the Catholic Church. So there's a bunch out there, and you just search it on the internet. But I will put something in the show notes.
Okay, great.
Hey, Michelle, can you find something that only if Fred Thompson is advertising it? Because I won't believe it.
Just for you, Frank. Just for you.
How about Weird Al? Tom, you had something on Weird Al?
I did. I was going to go to a segue of my... Oh, I'll save that to the end. By the way, I just wanted to have clarification. Yes, Hawking has a motor neuron disease related to ALS.
Okay.
Yep. So, yes, Weird Al and the end of the music industry, or maybe I should say the final end of the music industry as we know it. So as many of you, again, social media probably have seen it, Weird Al came out with a new album. His first #1 album ever. It's also his, as far as we know, last album. He's announced this will be his last album.
Oh, I didn't know it was going to be his last album.
Yeah, for a couple of reasons. A, it's the end of his contract with Warner Music, but also more importantly, as he said, because of who he is as an artist, he's a parodist, a satirist. Doing it in album format is too hard to you can't be timely. If I'm parodying something and my album comes out 12 months later, in this YouTube era, it's already been done 6 or 7 times, and I've missed the mark. So he's not going to cease being a recording artist. He's just going to basically be doing online videos, YouTubes, single downloads, what have you. So his genius was, and this is why I think he became, not just because it was a soft week and a soft industry, but he went to #1 because he literally released a video a day for 8 days in a row. 8, just banging out these videos. Really funny, really enjoyable. You should totally watch them. If you haven't seen Wordplay, everyone here, I'm looking at you, members of the panel. I don't know what's wrong with you because the Wordplay is really great. So why I say this is the death of the industries, because basically I was listening to this actually 2 separate really great NPR interviews with Weird Al, where he basically kind of went, you just can't operate in this kind of quick, single-driven industry, but not even a single-driven industry, a online YouTube, because kids...
Instant delivery.
Music consumers are no longer really necessarily... we've actually gone back to MTV in a way. People are watching music videos in that they are watching music on YouTube. And that's how often they are first receiving music. Or they listen to it on Spotify or...
Because they get it, but they get it instantly there. And you don't get it instantly when you get it on a CD. You have to go to the store, buy something, then go back to your device to turn it on and play it. It's not an instant kind of thing. With YouTube, it's at your fingers instantly every time your friend brings it up, and you don't have to carry your entire library with you. It sits up in the cloud, and you can just make it rain whenever you like.
I don't have to Be Kind rewind?
I rewind my DVDs when I return them to the red box.
That's so nice of you.
It is.
I just think there's some kind of there's like a little bit of beautiful poetry when you see that Weird Al recognizes that
Yep.
the industry is ending and goes out on top, baby.
And he has been such a strong. He's been such a strong manipulator of the industry that's there. He takes whatever's there and makes it his own and creates a space for himself.
And he seems like a really nice man.
Space, he does.
Yeah.
Anybody who can play the accordion the way he does is okay in my book.
Yeah.
All right, so I wanted to share with you a story about random neighbor parties.
Whoa.
I came home last night from being up in the suburbs, and we went out for dinner after meeting with some friends, et cetera, et cetera. Drove back
I want
downtown.
this to be a segment, but I'm sorry if it's a segment. Go ahead.
You want this to be a segment?
Random neighbor parties?
A regular segment, but I'm sorry if it is a regular segment.
Wheeler in the city.
Right, maybe that's what it ought to be.
I still miss the segment, what was it, Jeff's dating advice where he doesn't use the word penis.
Yes!
What was it?
That was awesome. That was awesome.
The Boo has retired that. The Boo has retired that.
So we show up at 10:30 or something, coming into the apartment, and as we walk in, our neighbor looks out the door and says, "Oh, hey, how you guys doing? We're up on the roof with probably about 20 people. If you want to come up and drink a beer or two, that's totally cool." We're like, all right, let's go and see what happens. So we go up there on the roof, meet all of these random awesome people.
And everyone was naked.
Not yet. But we have this great time and meet with everybody, stay up till like 2 o'clock in the morning, and everything was fantastic. We ended up at the apartment next door, right? And we share a wall with these people. And I'm like, I played my music. Can you guys hear that at all? And he's like, no, we never hear it. But I happen to have the app on my phone that I can turn up my stereo. So I'm like, well, let me see how loud you have to get to turn it all the way up. And I crank that thing to the level where if I was in here, my ears would be bleeding.
Yeah.
And it sounds like a car is driving by.
Nice. Great.
And I'm like, all right, so I can kind of crank it. That's awesome to know. And they're like, you just did that from over here? And I'm like, yeah, Wi-Fi reaches. We're good. So.
Aw.
So that was my
Making
story.
friends quickly. I love it.
It was awesome. It was awesome.
love it.
And the guy next door makes leather goods by hand, which is brilliant.
I wonder if he does like the armor as well, like linking of the armor.
No, he mostly is into satchels and backpacks and those kinds of things.
What about leather chaps?
If you have an interest, I'm sure he could make something. So do we have something that pisses Tom off?
We have I have something that pisses me off, and I also have an ass hat. I don't know.
Oh my God! Then you're going to bring in the end of the show. Do it.
Double. I was hoping to mix them up so it's not running out with me. I'll do the quick thing with things that piss Tom off that shouldn't piss them off, because I'm like, do your own thing, whatever. I was at a field concert this past weekend. First one I've been to in years, and I still don't understand. And this goes with sporting games too. Any kind of public event where, this concert ran from about like noon to 10 o'clock. It's 3 o'clock, and I'm seeing like three guys who are so drunk they're actually stumbling over each other, urinating against the fence, like falling down, and I'm thinking, you spent, I don't know, $90 to get in here, and then you spent at $8-10 a beer, I don't know how much to get drunk. And it's 3 o'clock. You got 6-7 more hours in the sun. Mind you, San Francisco sun, which is kind of cool. Eventually I needed to put on my actually that day I had to wear corduroy and a scarf.
Wow.
I just don't, so that kind of just pisses me off. The people who, it's third inning of the baseball game and you're already wasted.
Shit-faced, yeah.
If it's the ninth inning and it's Yankees, Red Sox, and you're then, all right, maybe I got maybe something.
Yeah, I get it, yeah.
But you got, there's 6-7 more hours of partying, man. Come on.
Pace yourself.
You spent $90 to fall asleep by the fence, man. Don't be that guy, man. So that pisses me off, even though it shouldn't piss me off because it wasn't my money.
That's right.
I didn't buy his ticket.
And
so
it wasn't live action Quidditch.
And it was.
I thought that was the whole thing about baseball, is that it's about the beer and the people you're around, right? Or something like that.
I'm not saying teetotal. But I'm saying
You're using the word teetotal.
Hell no.
Okay,
I wasn't teetotaling.
Okay.
Good
all
Lord,
right.
no.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
I'm amazed I made it back on my
the
bike
ass
that
hat?
day. My ass hat, and again, I think this guy, if he's not already in the Ass Hat Hall of Fame, and let me find the quote that I had for him, he is certainly on his way, is our good friend, big fan of the show, Mr. Donald J. Trump.
Oh, yeah.
I think he's made it
I
several
remember
times
his
to this,
email he sent us, yeah.
Yeah, I was
He's
really
a big fan.
warmed my heart. So,
Yeah. Well worded, crafted.
I have to start following. I almost want to start following the Don on Twitter because just so that I can be
Don.
so incensed by the stupid that just comes out of this man's mouth. I had heard about this on the radio yesterday, and so I was like, "Ooh, asshat!" I got him. So as you know, there has been a very significant Ebola outbreak in West Africa. Claimed many
I don't like where
lives.
this is going.
Oh, no, it's not going for it. We're pretty. So, the Don tweeted, the U.S. cannot allow Ebola-infected people back. People that go to faraway places to help out are great, but must suffer the consequences! Exclamation point. It was amazingly...
Yeah.
The douchery in that statement was just...
But that's New Yorkish, isn't it?
They knew the
Where-
risk when they went to Africa. They chose it freely. Just
Oh,
is
God.
that no, I don't think.
No,
I
what
don't
does
think
that
that's New Yorker.
mean, Jeff?
That's
Yeah.
just Trump. That's just being Trump.
Just being a Trump asshole, huh?
Yeah. So for that, just for that kind of like the asinineness of that statement of like, yeah, it's great that you're doing that, but go fuck yourself.
Yep.
He can go fuck himself. He's an asshat extraordinaire. He is a knighthood.
A master.
He is a knighthood in
Asshattery.
Hattery.
And hopefully he'll never be the owner of the Buffalo Bills.
Oh God. Oh, his bid was awful. Anyway.
Well,
Those
I
are
think
okay.
everyone for what they've got to bring this week, I think we have plowed through the stack of stuff quite aptly, created stories and stoic memories of what we have done this week. I would like to thank each and every individual on this panel for their efforts, and I'd like to thank all of our audience for their time to be here with us. I look forward to seeing you again, hopefully next week, here on the Speaker's Corner. And to say that, you'll come in to think, but you don't have to think like me.
You don't have to think like me.
You don't have to think like me.
Weird Al Yankovic is 54 years old.
Hey, you're thinking,
Which
Frank.
makes me think. Are you thinking?
I don't know.
We hope.
Okay, but we're going to ask that you do on your own think.